What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Crypto Catch Up. We're actually getting pretty darn close to that 1,000 subscriber mark. So we're sitting at around like 915 or something like that. So make sure you like and subscribe if you are watching any of these reviews, or if you have any recommendations of content, whether it be reviews, overviews, interviews that you'd like to see, or anything like that. Let me know in the comments below. Once we hit or get very close to that 1,000 mark, we'll do a little giveaway of some form of tokens or something like that that I might have lying around that could be of interest to you. But today we're going to go through Definity. Now, you might have heard of it before. It is quite an ambitious project. Now, it's probably the most ambitious project we've seen to date, not in the fact that they're making wild and audacious kind of claims, but the fact of what they're trying to achieve is actually extremely complex. They're trying to tackle quite a large market where, you know, big players like IBM, SAP, Salesforce are running their enterprise applications. So we're talking multi-billion-dollar industries that effectively the internet computer of Definity could be trying to take a piece of the pie from. So let's jump in. Now, this project in terms of everything is actually extremely complex, guys. Like, the white paper is nothing short of a very hard read if you are not mathematically minded, and very good at that, I might add. So we're not going to go through that side of things. I'll show you where it is and we'll go through the website and all of that, but keep in mind that what they're trying to do here is intense. So we'll try and break it down as simple as possible and go through some of the key terminology they have used and try and relate it back to stuff like usual. But if you're not sticking with me, I'm sorry. I'm doing the best I can do. All right, so let's have a look. So Definity is trying to be a distributed, decentralized cloud computing network. It's a blockchain computer with unlimited capacity, incredible performance, and algorithmic governance shared by the world, what they're calling Cloud 3.0. Now, this, as we go through, is all their wording, and I'm just reiterating it back to you in a condensed version. So if we're talking about Cloud 3.0 and things like that, I'm not really into the numbers or where we're up to or anything like that, you know, Industry 4.0, Web 3.0, but what we're actually seeing here is definitely a large leap forward. So stick with me on that. So it's a public decentralized cloud computer. So that definitely has a use case. So we've seen a lot of organizations move from mainframe, move from in-house IT systems, servers, and all of that sort of stuff to utilize Google and Amazon AWS and that kind of shared distributed kind of computing power that you can scale out naturally. Now, depending on the size of your organization, there is a point in which it actually is cheaper to keep it in-house. However, cloud computing has certainly taken the world by storm. There's a lot of issues, however, with cloud computing, especially around security. So government agencies or anybody that's wanting to protect particular data sets, a lot of these servers, if they're overloaded, might throw your data to another country or something like that to continue that computing power, whereby that might be illegal or, you know, not a part of the terms and conditions otherwise. So that's something that using a decentralized and obviously secure blockchain network could add an advantage towards. So they're saying it's performance, so it has performance, it's tamper proof, and it's scalable. Now, that's obviously something that we definitely need when we talk about distributed computing. We need scalability. So on a whim, if something needs to scale out and, you know, put more instances or more power towards a particular application, that it's able to do so. So what we're talking about when we say business dApps is effectively this is trying to target enterprise IT systems. So the fact that they'll need no backup, they won't need to restore or pay for any complex architecture, really reducing, or what Definity is saying is reducing the cost by 90% for such organizations to use the Definity internet computing or computer. So they're going to say that there's rapid system deployment, so you can utilize smart contracts, and actually they're saying that you can use multi-languages. So I believe currently on their testnet they're using Haskell, but there is going to be the ability to use JavaScript, Solidity, and all of that in the future to deploy applications and contracts. So it's a multi-network system, so it's allowing public and private networks to interact with each other atomically. So like we're seeing with atomic swaps, it requires no trust between each other. They can do that by putting up a particular private key, sharing that within a lockbox, and if one does one action, the other gets to see the exposed information, so they can obviously take matters into their own hands. It's a permissioned model originally from what I've read, so they've actually designed it to be able to utilize any Sybil-resistant consensus mechanism or consensus model, such as proof of stake or proof of work. Now, Sybil resistance is important because what Sybil attacks are is something where a node or computer like myself could turn rogue and effectively take particular actions or nefarious actions that make me seem bigger to the network than what I actually am, and to perform particular attacks on the network like DDoS and other things like that. So that's certainly interesting. And they've taken a bit of a user experience tack with this, which is incredibly important. Like, it's one of the most important things that I'm wanting to see in the blockchain space currently. So they're really going, well, wait a minute, consumers shouldn't know how complex this is in the back end. And that's always been the case, guys. We don't want you to know how complex these projects are or the work that's gone into it. We want you to have that fluid experience end to end for you as a business to be able to deploy a contract and really, you know, have to do it seamlessly or be able to do it seamlessly. So they're not taking the tack here that code is law. I think that was in 99, and I've talked about that recently in a smart contracts video I've done. So please take a look at that. They're taking the tack that AI is law. Now, considering a lot of the underlying infrastructure and scalability isn't solved yet, saying that AI is law is very, very big claims, but the premise behind it is sound. Effectively, what they're saying is that they're going to use artificial intelligence within this distributed computing model for governance and other factors to enable it to run in a fluid manner without the intervention of you or I. So it's going to take out multi-releases. So with Copper there, now I'm not even sure which one comes first or otherwise, but from the readings that I've done, Copper is saying that it will do 50 at least times the performance of Ethereum currently, and Tungsten is going to implement the scale out systems that they're wanting to do in terms of a linear scaling model where nodes like you or I join the network and can obviously improve that computing power of the whole definitive protocol or architecture as a whole. They are calling themselves Ethereum's crazy sister. So they would hope that a lot of the things that they are actually developing are going to be utilized at some point, possibly on Ethereum, but they in no way, shape or form saying that they're better than them or anything like that, which I think is great because Ethereum has a very strong community that will be able to assist Definity moving forward. So the testnet is live back in 2017, so you can have a look at that with Dominic Williams, who is the founder or the chief scientist in this project, and have a look at that video. And they've actually raised over $100 million currently in capital funding. So there's been no ICO, there's no tokenomics, there's no token sale or anything like that at the present moment. There is talks of one coming up, which is why I'm doing this video, because if it is going to become available to you, this is the information you might need. Now, it's getting really hot in here. This room is terrible for that, so let me turn on this little fan. Hopefully it doesn't get too noisy. All right, so what's some objectives? So these are 4 high-level objectives that Definity have stated in one of their papers. So they're wanting to reimagine the enterprise IT systems like we talked about, cut in costs. They're wanting to power real decentralized finance applications. They're wanting to power open source businesses that are currently taking monopoly share like eBay. And they're wanting to distribute data and computation outside mega data centers like AWS from Amazon. So let's have a look at some of the pictures here. So on the left, we've kind of come from this, you know, what they it makes it look like Bitcoin's so simple. It's just this, you know, virtual ledger with nothing more. And effectively, really, it is just that in some way, shape or form. We then moved to Ethereum, and we had obviously those smart contracts back in 2015 added with this Ethereum virtual machine that runs within Ethereum. But it's obviously plagued by scalability, and every other man and his dog is deploying ICOs on top of it just to get a token to obviously build out their project and get some crowdfunding. And then we're getting Definity. So Definity is starting to, you know, apply what they've got up there, which is a blockchain kind of neural system to it, and a few other factors which they're calling down the bottom threshold relay and things like that, which they've actually built themselves. And if we look over to the right there, you're seeing what those decentralized kind of intermediary systems are. So we're seeing eBay, Facebook, Gmail, Google, Dropbox, because the actual whole premise of this project started to how could they replace Google? How could they replace search functions with some form of distributed computing power? So it's come a long way in that regard, but that is what Definity is looking to do as a whole. So let's have a look at some of the tech here. Now, they've got what they're calling the threshold relay. The threshold relay effectively is trying to make it fast and scalable. So it does random number generation, which is extremely important in a decentralized system. So we don't have those bad actors that are controlling particular system functions, that it can run these protocols using this random generation to make sure everything is running smoothly in an unstoppable, unpredictable, and unmanipulable way. Now, this is the words of themselves. I am simply drilling this back to you. And like I said, it runs across all the protocols within the actual system, because there's 4 layers to this particular architecture. So the finality, now this is something that is very important. Finality refers to when is actually a transaction finalized. When can we say wholly and solely that yes, we're good to go. So they're saying it's 2 blocks, or what I've watched in Testnet, they were currently doing blocks every 50 seconds, but which means in 2 blocks, obviously 1 second. And they're not saying it's probabilistic. They're saying it's actual finality. So when I say it's not probabilistic, if you're aware of Bitcoin's architecture, they wait for 6 confirmations. A block comes around every 10 minutes, and therefore you're waiting about an hour to actually have a probabilistic format to say, well, it's very unlikely after an hour that a double spend attack is actually going to occur. So they're saying that no, after this second, it's final, you're good to go, take your payment, do this, do the computation on the network, happy days. So it's decentralized intelligence, so like I talked about there with about AI, so it makes arbitrary changes as needed. So if there's misuse going on or issues within the network, it will make particular changes based on that governance mechanism. It can optimize network config and upgrade the protocol. So no more hard forks. It will do that within that AI boundary. Now, all of that sort of stuff, upgrading protocols and optimizing network configuration, that's pretty big. Like I said, this is very ambitious from the team, but when we get to the team, you'll realize why they're structured the way they are. So it's got the block nervous system. Now, this is effectively a governance mechanism. Anything that's large and distributed like this needs a governance mechanism. So they're using dynamic managed economics. Effectively, you or I join the network as a, you know, another portion of computing power, and they based their technology or their proof of or minimum viable product, let's say, off about 1 million nodes, which is huge numbers. That's you know, well up there. A lot of projects only have a couple of thousand. So they're trying to see what it will be like in a linear fashion when it grows to such large numbers. So effectively they're saying that based on this blockchain nervous system and that use of AI and governance, if something was to go wrong, like a DAO hack where everyone lost money, that they would be able to return funds and reverse the damages where possible without having to hard fork off a blockchain or do anything crazy like that. Then they talk about deadlocking. So if you've got code that's, you know, running in an infinite loop and things like that, the system can actually work that out and stop that so it's not utilizing resources unnecessarily. A lot of the time though, I would imagine gas will run out, so the fuel for the fire will run out, so that wouldn't happen, but it is talked about. There is also the ability for nodes, or what they call neurons, within that blockchain nervous system to submit proposals, and that nervous system will approve and execute them for a fee that I might pay. Now, whether that be to, do a particular function or something like that, it will handle that all internally. And it uses a Bayesian classifier. Now, that's how this blockchain nervous system is going to teach itself how to do particular things. So the biggest example I can probably use is that in email filters, and now this is many years ago, this is not even new age stuff, there was a Bayesian filter, and what it effectively does is it learns from what's happening. So when spam was coming into your mailboxes, it was going, wait a minute, we got to teach it. And we go, no, that's spam, that's spam, that's spam. And you teach it, and over time, the probability of it actually kicking out spam is well over like 98%. It's an extremely effective method of teaching it to learn from its particular mistakes, let's say, or getting rid of spam. So it's using the similar kind of nature in there, which is, I think it was created by a guy named Thomas, but Bay something, I don't remember. They're using BLS cryptography, which is a short signature. Actually came out of Stanford. Now, the L in that stands for Lin, and a guy that's on this project, Ben Lin, Ben, same name as me, great name I might add, is obviously helping with how that can be applied, because supposedly, based on what the readings are, that BLS is one of the only cryptography methods that could be used in this for provable verification in some way, shape or form. And it has a single root hash, which I find extremely interesting. I'm not a super technical guy, but I'll be definitely looking into that. They're saying that effectively all the data from the virtual machine is going to be stored in that single root hash, which is wild. But anyway, so if we have a look up to the left there, so like we just did a bit of a comparison, Bitcoin confirmations, Definity only needs 2 there with a finality of 5 to 10 seconds. Now, like I said, in the testnet, it was a lot lower than that, but testnets are always different to real life. Down the bottom there, we start to see the different layers. So the identity layer is the first layer, your random beacon layer, your blockchain layer, and your notary layer. So your identity layer is where the instant finality occurs. And there's a bunch of other layers which you can go into in the white paper if you are interested. Over here we have a screenshot. Excuse me, I've been having the most delicious drink. Now, if you guys don't like Pepsi Max, I do. Oh, geez, it's good. With this here, this is their testnet. So it's got a bunch of, obviously, nodes on the screen, or what you're seeing in that network there. Down the bottom there with your random beacon, that's effectively saying that this is what's next coming up. This is a random number. This is who's going to control the governance from here to here. Your block height, like anything, how many blocks have been generated in there. It's got that kind of time of 45 seconds. Oh, sorry, 0.45, so half a second. And your latency chart there of how it's been handling it over the course of all of those blocks. So that is quite cool. There is a video online for that you can have a look at. So let's have a look at the A team. Now, these guys here, there is a massive team. There's whole teams dedicated to particular areas, from marketing, which is obviously very important for the project moving forward. But these are the 3 main guys there. So Dominic Williams on the left is the president or the chief scientist, the mind, I guess, behind the threshold relay and a bunch of other information there. Then we have the next guy, Timo, who actually created ASIC Boost. Now, that was quite large in terms of the Bitcoin space, in improving the efficiency of Bitcoin mining. And then, like I said, Ben Lin over there on the far right, who was from Stanford, who did his PhD, who created that cryptography format. All right, so like I said, overall, guys, there is no tokenomics or anything to this project, but you always got to ask, a couple of little questions of yourself. So I wrote them down. So yes, highly ambitious, What about the team? Well, the team overall, if you look at their website, is full of research scientists, engineers, or otherwise. There is no way, shape, or form any everyday developer, full stack or otherwise, would be somebody that would be a part of this project and the CEO or otherwise. You need some research to go into how in the bloody hell you're going to achieve that. So they definitely have the team supporting them, and there is quite a large team there, and they have the funding to pay those people. And they have stated in a blog that they will pay to retain talent and achieve their goal. So the product as a whole, like I said, ambitious as all hell, but I got to give it to them. It definitely sounds exciting. The strategy. So from a business point of view, what are they going to do moving forward? Well, that's not really clear because there is no white paper for the actual token sale or what they're wanting to achieve next or anything like that. I guess what we want to see is a portion of the platform and the minimum viable products, a holdout for that. Resilience. Is it going to last in this ecosystem? That is something I definitely cannot answer, but you know, moving forward, if you watch the project as we go forward, if they start achieving some goals and proving some of their use cases, it certainly will be big because there's definitely, you know, a use case for it. There is companies that would use this every day of the week, from small to large enterprises. Product presentation. So there is heaps of really complex, but also some lower level stuff in terms of PowerPoint slides that they have on their website, which are free for you to download and have a look at. I think from a marketing point of view, they have their own team, they have that documentation, they're putting it all on the line, and there is interviews with them. They're going to get a thumbs up from me in that regard. Like I said, no ICO information, and market and social sides of things are all good. So that is Definity, guys. Now, if you have a look at any of the other projects going on, or other, I guess, reviews in this space, Definity is definitely up there for how crazy it is. This is their website here, so if you scroll down, it's got a bunch of information. There's a quick little video you can watch. Here's a portion of the team you can have a look at, and a few comments from other people. Like I said, if you have a look at the definitive white paper here, this is extremely technical. Like, extremely technical, guys. Like, the math in here is like, who knows? I have no idea. I can't get that stuff. I'm not a mathematician, but that's all good. We don't need that. All we need to know is that it's going to be all right. All right, guys, that is the video for today. So like always, like and subscribe. Like I said, let's try and get to 1,000 subscribers, and we'll do a little bit of a giveaway for you. Like I said, leave any comments below, but also anything you want me to cover off. So we're doing a bit of reviews lately. I've been quite busy because I have actually quite something to tell you soon. A partnership, not like Justin Sun or Sunrock from Verge, a legitimate partnership that I'll be working with moving forward. But I've got to sign some things first. So please invest responsibly.